Yo, Amateur Lore here, and we're back today taking a look at some of the hottest starts to ever happen in college football with some of the coldest finishes. One of these entries for this video came from you guys down in the comments, so if you have any ideas about topics or teams you want me to cover, let me know down below. If you like the tent, be sure to like and subscribe. These videos do take a while to make. Anyway, let's jump right into the video. Alright, so I had a ton of fun making a previous video like this where I covered teams who started the season hot but ended cold. And one of the things I noticed from the last video was how many of y'all commented to take a look at the 2024 Pittsburgh Panthers if I were to make another video like that. So that's exactly what we're doing today. I'm going to be honest. Wait, hold on. Does anybody remember those from high school? The old like for a TBH? No cap, there was no better feeling than posting one of those and having your crush like it. Good times. Anyway, if I'm being real, I had no clue Pitt had such high highs in 2024 and also the lowest of lows. I was kind of tuned out when it came to Pitt football last year, but looking into this team has been interesting to say the least. Coming into the 2024 college football season, Pitt had a pretty decent previous 3 years, having one of their best seasons in a long time in 2021, winning the ACC as well as winning 11 games, their most wins in a single season since 1981. 2022 would be a slight decrease, but that's to be expected having their star quarterback, Kenny Pickett, being drafted into the NFL as they would finish the year with a 9-4 record, ending the season with a win in the Sun Bowl. The program would suffer a down year in 2023 going 3-9, but that season was the outlier, not the norm. Well, that's probably what the fans were thinking. However, the media in the ACC had a whole nother idea about the Panthers. Looking back at some of the ACC preseason rankings, ACC.com would have Pitt predicted to finish the season 13th in the conference. But I don't know how serious you can take these predictions because I do have to mention they also had Florida State finishing 1st and SMU finishing 7th. So take that as you will. That was a short little intro. Now let's take a look at some of the cats making noise in the Steel City. Leading the program in his 10th season up to that point, we got head coach Pat Narduzzi. Pitt fans, how do y'all feel about him? Let me know down below in the comments. He's had a pretty good career with the Panthers, having more winning seasons than losing ones, so that has to count for something, right? Drifting over to quarterback, the man under center was Eli Holstein, passing for 2,225 yards with 17 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. I know those stats seem a little sus, but he did get injured towards the end of the season. At running back, the man on this team was Desmond Reed, rushing for just shy of a band with 5 touchdowns, but bro was also cooking with the routes, catching 52 passes for 579 yards with 4 touchdowns. And finally, to round out the offense at wide receiver, the team leader was Konate Mumfield, catching 52 passes for 813 yards with 5 house calls. The Pittsburgh Panthers would open up the 2024 college football season with a nice tune-up game versus Kent State that they would easily win 55-24. Running back Desmond Reed would have himself a game, rushing for 145 yards and a touchdown on only 14 carries. That's a nice little stat line. Now sitting at 1-0, Pitt was about to embark on a little 2-game stretch of ball where they would be matching up against 2 Big 12 teams. A road game against Cincinnati and then a home game versus West Virginia. Now, there wasn't too many expectations placed on this 2024 Panthers squad, but if they could win these 2 non-conference games, it would definitely bring some eyes onto the program.
6, a 3 deep, 2 underneath. Couldn't do it last year, trying to get back to those ways this year. And the pass is caught, tiptoeing down the sideline. Kiner in the backfield on 3rd and long. Sorsby off the back foot. Joe Royer. Bartholomew went in motion. Holstein looking his way, now the other. Out in the flats. Pass is caught for the touchdown. It's Holstein has a man wide open. Reeled in by Mumfield on 4. Time across the middle. There goes Reed. One man to beat, and he reaches the play action. Holstein heaves one deep down the field, and it's brought in. Snap is high, hold is down, kick on the way, and for the first time today, Pittsburgh has the lead against Cincinnati.
Green to throw, swings it out, C.J. Donaldson at right tackle. Holstein avoids the rush, throws for the end zone, and it is caught. Situation here on Ollie Strong, who has it blocked. Bounces inside the 30, picked up by Pitt for a touchdown. Game. And here it is, Donaldson in for a touchdown. It's 3rd down here. Green, sideline shot, and hauled in. 40. Holstein takes a shot deep downfield toward the end zone. Caught by Davis, the running back beside Holstein. Holstein fires and finds Mumfield in the field goal range. Play fake. Holstein scrambles, stayed on his feet somehow. Comes on with Davis beside him. Davis up the middle. Touchdown!
Pitt would go 2-0 through this little stretch of Big 12 play, winning in two pretty tight football games. Starting with their 28-27 win against the Cincinnati Bearcats, this win was snatched right up from the jaws of defeat as Pittsburgh would be down by as much as 21 points with the score being 27-6 early in the third quarter. Led by quarterback Eli Holstein, who threw for 302 yards with 3 touchdowns, Pitt would storm their way back, scoring 22 unanswered points to win the ballgame, pulling off the unlikely comeback. Against West Virginia, the Panthers would slightly edge out the Mountaineers, winning 38-34. Instead of having to come back from a crazy deficit, this match was more back and forth, with both teams swapping the lead until about the fourth quarter when West Virginia would attempt to close out the game, taking hold of the Panthers with the 34-24 lead with about 5 minutes left in the ballgame. Pitt would rush down the field, scoring in less than 2 minutes, force a 3-and-out on West Virginia to get the ball back, where led by quarterback Eli Holstein, the Panthers would drive the ball down the field, going 77 yards in 6 plays, scoring the game-winning touchdown to secure the win 38-34. It wasn't pretty, but Pitt was now sitting with the record on the season at 3-0, with only one more non-conference game left to play in before they would start the long, grueling journey that is ACC play. Thankfully for them, it would be against Youngstown State, virtually making it another tune-up game for the Panthers. I'm sorry, Penguin fans, if I offended you, but you guys would get smacked 73-17, so it is what it is. The Pittsburgh Panthers' blowout win over the Penguins would mark the end of the non-conference part of their schedule. I don't think anybody at the beginning of the season had Pitt going perfect through their first 4 games, but here they were, sitting at 4-0 about to begin ACC play. And once ACC play would begin, the momentum Pittsburgh had been building up all season wouldn't slow down one bit, taking down North Carolina 34-24 and California 17-15, bringing their current record on the year to 6-0. And for the first time all season, the Panthers would find themselves cracking the top 25, sitting pretty at the 19th spot in the latest polls heading into their big-time match, up with another hot ACC team, the 5-1 Syracuse Orange. The Orange versus 19th ranked Pitt would be completely one-sided, with the Panthers dominating this game from the start until the finish. Mainly the Pittsburgh defense, let me explain. So the Pitt defense would get this, force 5 turnovers, with 3 of them being pick sixes. You have 3 pick sixes in one game, you can all but guarantee your team will win, and that's exactly what happened, with the Panthers winning 41-19. The offense wasn't really tasked with doing too much this game, but I do want to show love to quarterback Eli Holstein, who passed for only 108 yards, but he did throw 2 touchdowns in this season-defining win for the Pittsburgh Panthers. This huge win would improve Pitt's record on the 2024 college football season to 7-0, with their ranking in the latest polls not moving much at all. At this point in the year, it was safe to assume that Pittsburgh was a team who could possibly make the college football playoffs. Pitt had looked good in majority of their games this season so far, and had gotten themselves off to a 3-0 record in ACC play. If there was one slight criticism on the Panthers so far, it was that they hadn't really matched up against any ranked teams or any real contenders. That would all change during their next 4-game stretch of conference play, where they would match up against 20th ranked SMU, Virginia, 20th ranked Clemson, and finally the end of this stretch of road game against Louisville. Since Pitt had gotten off to such a hot start, they could afford to lose a game, but just to be safe and keep their playoff hopes alive, it'd be best for them to go perfect during this stretch. Could Pitt get the job done, or would this stretch of ACC play be too much for them to handle?
His 47th career game. Here goes Smith, reverse, and this is Roderick Daniels to the right. Daniels eludes one, dives and scores! SMU from its 29 with an 11-point lead, and Brashard Smith, midfield, and it's a foot race. Smith to the 25, the 10, touchdown! And Eli looking, now off the tuck and run, and he will hit the pylon side.
Riley Gandy.
And here goes Brashard Smith, touchdown! Jennings on the play fake, slides it upfield. Matthew Hickner off to the races. Hickner at the 30, full speed, and the big tight end goes 75.
It's a Pony Express.
First and goal, little soft toss, Brown scores. You're going to hand it straight ahead. Daniel Carter, touchdown Pitt. Longest run of the night for Virginia. Calandria, oh my goodness, Brown. Touchdown Virginia. Play fake. They're gonna wind and dial. Deep throw. Poppy. No! Intercepted. Sanker. Jonas back upfield. Looking for a block. Cuts to the 35. Sanker and find Neville and Pace. Kind of a power eye. And here's Kobe Pace. And Virginia's extending. Tight end 3 receivers. Yarnell looking. Shoots it to Bartholomew. Touchdown Pitt.
Transactions that took place in the ACC today.
Here's Yarnell, again up in the pocket, sailing it downfield, intercepted, Corey Thomas. Pittsburgh showing pressure, they bring it to the end zone, a beautiful throw. Carter remains the running back. And he's It's in for a touchdown. What execution. Public got hit as he throws deep again for a touchdown. Back to back. Impressive drives. Receiver open. Bartholomew. Touchdown. He takes off running up the middle. First down. Inside the 35. He's going to go. Kane Klubnik. Touchdown. Well, they flinched again. There's no flag down. The throw down the middle is intercepted.
First and goal, they get big along the line, and that opens up Oval. He gets a lot of time, and that's the easiest touchdown.
Is there to make him pay.
And Isaac Brown is to the 5. He bounces off a defender and in. The Panthers need their defense to get Louisville off the field, and the bobbled ball on the edge is caught. Sprint down the sideline for Chris Bell. Adios.
Whether it's high school, college, Pop Warner, NFL, I don't care. You build your offense around your best players. And as we say that, look at Louisville once again making a big-time play.
You all saw the title of this video. You knew Pitt was destined for an incredible fall-off, and this stretch is where it would begin, going 0-4. No need to talk much about the first game versus SMU, as Pitt would get schooled from an actual 2024 playoff contender, losing 48-25. If I'm being real, this game was over in the third quarter, with the Mustangs being up by as much as 31 at certain points in the third. Pitt never really stood a chance. Against Virginia, Pitt did have a chance in this game, holding on to a slight lead heading into halftime. After that, I have no clue what happened with the Panthers. They would only be able to muster 6 points for the rest of the game, which this shouldn't be a shocker to anyone, but those 6 second-half points would not be enough to hold on to the lead, as the Cavaliers would end up taking the lead in the third quarter, never giving it back, winning 24-19. After losing 2 straight football games, it was time to press the panic button. Pittsburgh couldn't afford a third loss in a row against Clemson, and credit to them, they would probably play their best game of this stretch against Clemson, actually being up 20-17 with only about a minute left in the football game. All they had to do was keep the Tigers out of the end zone. Yeah, a 50-plus yard quarterback sneak later and they would be down again. However, they actually would be able to drive the ball down the field, having a chance to win the game, but would fall short, losing 24-20. At this point in the season, Pitt has shut down their starting quarterback, who got a little banged up, rolling out Nate Yarnell for the final games of the season. During the final game of this stretch, nothing much would change, with the Panthers getting mollywopped by Louisville 37-9. The Pitt Panthers were now sitting with the record on the season at 7-4, riding a 4-game losing streak with 1 game left on their schedule versus Boston College. Could they end this losing streak and at least have some positive things to think about headed into 2025? Well, about that, no, they would lose to Boston College 34-23, bringing their record to 7-5 and their losing streak to 5. Okay, I know the last 6 minutes plus have been nothing but negativity when it comes to the Panthers, but I do have good news. Even though Pitt lost their last 5 games, they were still bowl eligible and would have the honor of playing against Toledo in the Game Above Sports Bowl. The name of that bowl game tells you all you need to know about Pitt's fall off. Just 5 games ago, the Panthers were looking at maybe hosting a playoff game, but instead they'd be hosting Toledo. Would the Panthers streak be at 6 after this game, or 1?
Now they go right back to David Lynch.
They will toss it to Desmond Reed, who will skirt right. They get to Wallensack, zipped out to Vander Oss, went through. Vander Oss in a foot race, and they're not going to catch him today. Intercepted, picked up by Toledo's Nasir Bowers. Pick 6. 2nd and 15. Duggar zips it, caught, touchdown. Holstein does keep it, and Duggar plows ahead for a touchdown. Gleason keeps, following blockers, and leaps into the 4th overtime in Detroit. Gleason under pressure, is caught, and Duggar in the backfield. 2 tight end set. Duggar looking end zone. It is caught.
Ross is your motion man.
Here comes the pressure. Good protection. Gleason throws and it's caught. Unbelievable. Wide open, it's Vander Oss. Reed back into the game. Here comes the pressure. Duggar under duress. Incomplete. And there are no flags. Toledo wins.
Wow. Pitt vs. Toledo had to be one of the most exciting bowl games that nobody probably watched. 6 overtimes is just insane, and even with many opportunities to put the game away, the Panthers would still find a way to lose this ball game, falling just short to the Toledo Rockets 48-46. This past year I made at least 40 plus videos covering about 2 to 3 teams in each of those videos, and I don't think I've ever seen a team fall off harder than this 2024 Pitt Panthers team. What they pulled off this year is the absolute stuff of legend. To go from winning 6 games in a row to losing 7 takes a special type of skill. No matter what though, I don't think any Pitt fans will forget about this season for all of the wrong reasons. It's going to be hard to top a season like 2024 Pitt, but this next entry was pretty bipolar in its own right. So let's leave Pittsburgh and head all the way over to College Station to talk about the next team up in this video, the 2016 Texas A&M Aggies. Where do we begin with the 2016 Aggies? Well, first I think we should go back a couple of years to see what the temperature was around College Station at the time. Which takes us back to 2014, where Texas A&M had been trying to find their replacement for the college football legend Johnny Manziel, who not only made the party scene probably as lit as it's ever been, but to give credit where credit is due, the 2 years Johnny football was starting at Texas A&M in 2012 and 2013 were some of the best years for the football program since the early 90s. And when he would depart for the NFL, the program would be tasked with finding their next superstar QB. It turns out finding generational talent is way harder than NCAA 2026 makes it seem, because the Aggies would go 8-5 in back-to-back seasons, ending both of those seasons just looking awful, with a large part of that being because of the inconsistent quarterback play. Coming into 2016, things needed to change. It seems like the wider college football world coming into the new year wasn't expecting the Aggies to make drastic changes, as most outlets had them predicted to finish 4th or 5th in the SEC West, winning about 7 games. Which is fair because there was definitely a lot of uncertainty coming into the football season around this team. But, well, at least for the first half of the year, they would far exceed those expectations, climbing their way all the way up to the 6th spot in the country at certain points during the year. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. That was a short little intro. Now let's take a look at some of the young men making things shake in College Station. Leading the program in his 5th year up to that point at head coach, we got Kevin Summerlin, who somehow managed to win 10 games at Texas A&M when Jimbo Fisher couldn't, even though he had a top 5 class like every season he coached there. And diehard Aggie fans, how do y'all feel about Kevin? I feel like he burned bright really fast and that was about it. I'm curious to know what you guys think about it down below. Sliding over to the most important position in sports, at quarterback the man was Trevor Knight, passing for 2,432 yards with 29 total touchdowns, who would also add 614 yards on the ground. Moving over to the running back, this team had a couple of dudes getting burned, but the bell cow back was Travion Williams, rushing for just over 1,000 yards with 8 touchdowns. And finally, to round out the offense at wide receiver, Josh Reynolds, catching 61 passes for 1,039 yards with the conference-leading 12 receiving tutties. Before we hop into the season, I have to mention this absolute unit on the defensive side of the ball. Who else but Myles Garrett, who'd finished this year as an All-American with 8.5 sacks. To open up the 2016 college football season, the Texas A&M Aggies were not getting any tune-up games before they would be forced to wrestle in the mud. This year, they would be starting the season with a tough game right away as the 16th-ranked UCLA Bruins, led by future top 10 NFL draft pick quarterback Josh Rosen, would be making the trip to College Station for this Week 1 non-conference banger of a matchup. A lot of the college football world wasn't too high on this Aggies football team coming into the season, but a good performance or maybe even an upset would certainly do the trick in changing their minds.
We welcome all of you to the Home Depot SEC on CBS this afternoon in Montreal. And here he is kicking off in front of 102,000. It is a good kick, but returnable. Justin Evans, number 14. Nice defense.
No, they do it again.
And they got the first down plus on his way and knocked out of bounds.
He got his hands under that.
Up the middle. Touchdown, Aggies. Our first down.
There it is.
Big hole. Travion Williams. Knocked out of bounds. Give the Aggies a lead. Connor McQueen will hold. 23 yards out. High snap, but a good hold. It's down, and it is 6 right side. Knight. Got it. Knight will keep it. He struggles, and I believe he cracked it. Yes, he did. He's across the plane. Touchdown.
Well, you say they haven't had a lot of them today, but 2 big ones on 3rd down.
Watch out from behind. And deep into the end zone. Caught! Josh Reynolds. 4th down. Rosen lets it go. 1st down. Austin Roberts. Up the middle as she goes.
Oh, he didn't fall down.
They bring 4. Rosen looks deep, fires it deep, way downfield. Caught at the 10. Kenneth Walker. Here we go. Rosen into the end zone. Caught. Knight keeps it. Touchdown. You knew it was blitz. Rosen rolls under pressure, heaves it. Incomplete. Aggies win.
The Aggies would survive the Bruins' late surge, winning the game in overtime 31-24. Let's keep it a Tampa Bay buck. Texas A&M should have had this game wrapped up and ready to be done way before overtime. There was no need for extras, but the Aggies somehow allowed UCLA to score 15 points in less than 6 minutes. Unexcusable, but at least they managed to survive and win the game. A win is a win, but there was definitely room for improvement. In the following week, the Aggies would get to actually try out some things and work on their weaknesses in a tune-up game. They would easily win 67-0 against powerhouse Prairie View. Now sitting with the record on the season at 2-0 and a ranking at the 17th spot, it was time for the Aggies to leave their hug box and travel to Auburn to match up versus the 1-1 Tigers. The defense really stood out this game, playing a huge role in Texas A&M pulling off the 29-16 win. When you look at the team stats, the Tigers did manage to total just shy of 400 yards, but the Aggies defense would force multiple turnover on downs as well as not allowing them to finish off their drives with touchdowns late into the game. Also, shout out to QB Trevor Knight. Bro was passing the rock like Cortana, throwing for 247 yards with a touchdown, and running back Travion Williams, who busted a nice and long 89-yard rushing touchdown, to put the game out of reach. That big win would catapult the Aggies ranking in the latest polls all the way up to the 10th spot in the country. This has to be one of my favorite things about college football. One week a team can be on no one's radar, then the next you look up and they're a top 10 football team, heading into a big-time rivalry game at Jerry World against the 17th ranked Arkansas Razorbacks. If you couldn't tell, I was talking about the Aggies who were playing against the Razorbacks in the Southwest Classic. At halftime, the score would be deadlocked at 17, with the Hogs getting the best of the Aggies for a good portion of the first half. Texas A&M would need a big momentum shift coming out of halftime or risk their first L on the season.
On Andre Tolliver. Here's Knight straight up the middle. Nobody was home. And there goes Trevor. He's done it again. And some clutch third down conversions. Allen now to pass on first down as he leaves it for Sprinkle, and Sprinkle maintains. Instead, they go with Hatcher, and he's gobbled up for a long. Trevor Knight from his end zone, going to take a shot downfield, and Josh Reynolds, could it be? Here we go, folks. Wacky in Arlington, back and forth. First down, Aggies. Williams darting through and into the end zone.
And the threat of him running always.
And then there's this, Christian Kirk.
Texas A&M would look like a completely different football team coming out of halftime. Pretty much getting whatever they wanted on offense like a spoiled child, totaling 591 yards in this 45-24 blowout victory over the 17th ranked Arkansas Razorbacks. Trevor Knight would probably play his best game of the season up to that point, passing for 225 yards with 2 tutties, as well as rushing for 157 yards with an additional 2 touchdowns in this huge win over the Hogs. The Aggies were now ranked as the 9th best team in the country and were one of the hottest teams in college football, and would extend their 4-game winning streak to 5 after they would beat conference foe South Carolina 24-13 in a pretty low-scoring game. At this point in the season, the Aggies were potential college football playoff contenders. They looked good on offense and defense for most of the year and were getting better each and every game. If there was one critique for this team, however, it would be that they hadn't faced off against any elite football teams yet. Their 2 ranked wins were cool, but neither of them were against top 15 teams. That would all change in week 6. 5-0 8th ranked Texas A&M versus 5-0 9th ranked Tennessee. This game was going to be a heavyweight bout between 2 teams gunning for the college football playoffs. Luckily for the Aggies, they'd be the host of this massive game. And it's just simple math, but 12 always beats 11, right?
We welcome all of you to the Home Depot SEC on CBS. This afternoon, the Tennessee Volunteers come to Kyle Field. 2005 Cotton Bowl, Tennessee won both. And as we mentioned at the outset, this is the Volunteers' first visit ever to College Station. Tennessee won the toss, deferred. Aaron Medal. Dobbs bumps, goes deep, it's hit. Is that a forward pass or a fumble? It is ruled a fumble. 7. Knight bobbles the snap, sidearms it out. Right side, it's Christian Kirk. And he has gotten a touchdown. And Dobbs up.
Watch out.
Direct snap.
Watch out.
Reverse. Jawan Jennings. Touchdown.
First half.
Kirk in motion. Play action. They go deep right side to Josh Reynolds. He's down here. They went right.
9 yards would make it exactly even in yardage.
Play action. Touchdown. Knight. In for the touchdown at the 33. Dobbs fumbles. It's loose. And it's It's recovered. Up the middle. Touchdown. From the 15 on first down. Up the middle. Alvin Kamara. Up the middle. Touchdown. Tennessee.
He kept it.
Yes, he did. Here he goes. Here he goes. At the 20. At the 10. Touchdown. Texas A&M. Gain of 36. He breaks another tackle. That's a touchdown. Left side. Travion Williams keeps his feet. And he's loose. It's a foot race. He's at the 10. He fumbles.
It's going to be a touchback.
Yes, he did. He fumbled through the end zone. Malik Foreman. And they're a touchdown away. Here's Dobbs. All kinds of time. It's Tyler Bird, the freshman. Gets a block. He's down at the 41. Blitz. Dobbs hit as he lets it go. Kamara driving. He's in. Touchdown. Kirk. High snap. Knight hands it off. There goes Travion Williams. They try to knock the ball. He missed it. He missed it. Perfect. Oh, perfect. The kick. Perfect. There you go. Guess what? It's Knight. Guess what? He got in. Play action. Dobbs back. Goes deep down the middle. It's intercepted. Game over. Armani Watts with the interception. The Texas Aggies are undefeated.
I have no clue how I forgot about this absolute gem of an SEC football game from the 2016 college football season. Well, to be fair to myself and most casuals, at the time you probably turned this match off a little early, and I wouldn't blame you. The Texas A&M Aggies would take down the 9th-ranked Tennessee Volunteers in double overtime 45-38. But we all know this game shouldn't have even gone to overtime, with the Aggies leading by 2 scores with under 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. But that's why they always say it ain't over till it's over. That fumble late for a touchback was unfortunate. But can you really get on Travion Williams' case too much? Minus that late blunder, he was easily the MVP of this game, rushing for 217 yards and a touchdown on 28 carries, averaging nearly 8 yards a touch. As a matter of fact, this whole game the Aggies were running free like escaped convicts, rushing for a total of 353 yards with the majority of the production coming from Williams and quarterback Trevor Knight. How you rush for that much, with your defense forcing 7 turnovers, yet you still need extras to win is beyond me. I think the worst part was the fact that they could have won this game in regulation at the end with the field goal. Could y'all imagine the hate that dude would have got if they would have lost? Yikes. Luckily for him, his team would have his back, finishing off the game in overtime on top 45-38. This huge but anxiety-inducing win would bring the Aggies' record on the season to 6-0, and their ranking in the latest polls to the 6th spot in the country. Now, while the Aggies were riding extremely high so far this season, there was still a little cause for worry, mainly in the fact that the Aggies had blown 2 pretty good fourth quarter leads to ranked opponents already this year. And while UCLA and Tennessee couldn't make them pay, if they kept playing with fire, eventually they'd get burned. We're going to fast forward past this next game because even though it was versus number 1 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide, there isn't really much to speak of from this game besides Alabama doing what they did to just about everyone in the 2010s. A lot of running with solid defenses. They would take down Texas A&M 33-14. It's all good though because it was only 1 loss so far for the Aggies on the season, and it was to the number 1 team in the country. So they'd only fall back a couple of spots in the following week's polls. Sitting at the 9th spot, and after bouncing back and taking down New Mexico State in their next game 52-10, they'd be right back in the driver's seat to make a run for the college football playoffs. What's crazy is the way this year was turning out, if Texas A&M could survive their last little stretch of SEC play to end the season, then they'd have a really good chance at making the college football playoffs without even winning their conference. But before they could even think about making the Final Four, they needed to run the Mississippi Gauntlet and beat Ole Miss and Mississippi State, then a non-conference game versus UTSA, and finally to end this stretch and the regular season, a home game versus LSU. The mission was simple: win, don't lose, and you're most likely in the college football playoffs. I know that sounds easy, but the Aggies would be without their starting quarterback whose throwing shoulder was injured versus New Mexico. Still, he'd be back before the season was over, so if they could just stay afloat during this stretch, Texas A&M could make history.
Quarterback-centric offensively.
Fitzgerald will keep it here, has a whole lot of room. He may take it to the house on the first play from scrimmage for the Bulldogs. 74.
5th missed tackle early.
Good enough to give the... Here's Knight trying to run for it. Coming near side to the 10, to the 5. Leaps for the pylon. Did he make it? Yes, he did. Williams far out to the right. But they'll come back over the middle. The Aggies are in a world of hurt.
Minus A&M rushing attack all year.
There's Kirk wide open. Touchdown. 10 seconds off the clock. Fitzgerald will keep it. Stutter steps. Dragging defenders. Did he get in? Yes, he did. Oh, Nick Fitzgerald. Throw it, and it's worked pretty well since they've gone that direction. There's the onside kick. Loose football. Who's got a Mississippi State? Boy, it was free for a second.
Moves forward over. Comes back to right side. Dives in zone. Touchdown. Dabbling in zone. Touchdown. Play action. Wide open for the touchdown. Ball across the 25. Here's Judd. Judd breaks free. 10-5. Touchdown. Oh. Play action. Hubenet goes. Reynolds grabs it. What a great back. Going toward the end zone. Jefferson. Touchdown. Jose just inside. 39-yarder on its way. Good.
Wants so badly to be the head coach at LSU. Geis, another good gain and broken tackles. Geis out into the open, breaks another one, and he will score. And it went backwards for a yard and a half, so it's third down. Knight is going to throw deep, and Kirk is there in stride, caught. Second and 10. Shoulder fake for the corner in the end zone. It is caught. Touchdown. This one. Okay, so another one of those little pitch plays, and again straight ahead for a big gain and more. To the 20. Geis. Touchdown. Red zone, which has been just a disaster for LSU. Geis, little shuffle move, and touchdown. Not this time. Almost untouched. Tremendous support for A&M, but struggling tonight. They give it to Chart. Touchdown. Out, I think 4 clear drops tonight. A couple of real big ones by Boyle and Reynolds. Little swing pass to Kirk. Out of the open. There goes Christian Kirk. Sideline. Touchdown. Management of the clock here for the Tigers. Geis. Touchdown. His 4th of the night. A monster performance for Darius Geis.
Man, this is crazy. The Aggies were just a couple of games from making the college football playoffs, but as you all saw, that just wasn't what the football gods had planned for this 2016 Texas A&M football team, as they would go 1-3 through this stretch, with their only win coming against a 5-5 UTSA football team. The Aggies didn't look good during this stretch, especially during their games versus Mississippi State and LSU, where they were just getting bullied up front, allowing 600 plus yards on the ground combined between these two teams. Freaking Darius Geis, running back for the LSU Tigers, would nearly rush for 300 yards on his own, averaging about 7 yards a carry with 4 touchdowns. The worst part of this stretch to me had to be their second game when they faced off against the other school from Mississippi, the Rebels. The Aggies were up by not 1 but 2 scores against Ole Miss heading into the 4th quarter. This game should have been a win for Texas A&M, but after halftime they just fell flat. This was their drive sheet from the entire second half. Downs, punt, 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 punt again, fumble, touchdown, punt, then interception. They just couldn't muster anything on offense. And the further they got into the season, it became really apparent this Aggie squad had a real trouble with closing out games, as even when they were playing against the number 1 ranked Crimson Tide, they held a lead for a little bit but couldn't hold on. This all goes without saying they would lose to Ole Miss, allowing them to come back and take the lead, winning 29-28. The Texas A&M Aggies were now sitting with the record on the season at 8-4. From being ranked as high as the 6th spot to now being unranked and having one of the craziest fall-offs in college football history. The Aggies had 2 choices at this point in the year: phone it in and end their season with a loss in their bowl game against Kansas State, or lock the hell in and try to salvage this unfortunate season in any way they could. No matter what, the season was a disappointment, but they could at least wash down the taste of failure with a win in their final game of the 2016 college football season. This was their Super Bowl, the Advocare V100 Texas Bowl versus Kansas State.
This is the Advocare V100 Texas Bowl as a part of Capital One Bowl Mania.
Start. Knight. Handoff. Ford. Touchdown. Lose the Rodeo Bowl. So we'll see. Wildcats playing from behind on the field. Perfect throw. Pringle down the sideline. Touchdown. Ertz gonna keep it. Uses that acceleration and a stiff arm. Touchdown. Second and goal. Knight throwing toward the corner of the end zone.
Touchdown. Knight. Your eyes on Garrett. Out into the open. A big play for Kansas State. Dominique Heath. Touchdown. But he thought possible. He looks a lot fresher now. They'll throw that jump ball. Reynolds. Touchdown. Just keep that in mind. Snap hole. They are kicking. And it is on the way. No good.
There's going to be a sneak again.
Ertz. I think he got there. No signal yet. Touchdown. 5. Knight fakes it to Ford, who's back in. And it's Reynolds for another touch. Is the man who comes in motion. Trevor Knight with pressure coming. Throws. Incomplete.
Great defensive play call here.